Well, greetings from the Franklin, Tennessee Bureau of CRS, aka RJ's Basement, everyone. This is the May edition of CRS360, and we're going back to research this month. And just to recap, if you went to CRS 2025 a couple months ago, we gave you a full-blown study, a qualitative overview of the format, which was great. So Lee and Carolyn nailed that at CRS. And then we came back in March and gave you the results of a 400-song auditorium test to talk about fit and songs that were or were not a match for country radio. And now we're going to dive into personalities. And I think this is going to be a really great discussion. We're going to talk about their importance, their impact, and the incredible opportunity that country radio and radio on a broader level has to capitalize on what the secret sauce has been for our format and radio for so many years. We have the usual suspects back with us. We have Clay Honeycutt to moderate. Gator Harrison is joining us for perspective. Lee Jacobs and Carolyn Gilbert from New Voodoo. So one thing I wanted to mention here is a great look, a still photo of our panelists here today. So there they are. But we're not doing, because this is recording, we're not doing a traditional Q&A, but everybody's provided their information. So if you have a question after you view this webinar, then by all means, reach out to Lee, Gator, Carolyn, or Clay individually, and they'll be happy to field your question. So please follow us on social media along the way. I'm going to unshare. I'll hand it over to Clay and Lee for some data and a great conversation about personality radio.
Thanks, RJ. Really appreciate it. That's a fine introduction. I don't think anybody does introductions better than you, RJ.
Thank you. It's my forte.
Hey, when you've got it, flaunt it. So that's what I say.
He's quite the personality, right? He's fitting for this call.
But he keeps the music moving.
Yeah, and a face for radio. But anyway, so thanks everybody for joining us. We are back for another CRS360, as RJ shared. And today we're digging into air personalities. As we say with every research project that we do at CRS, there's usually 3 or 4 360s that come out of this because there's so much data, there's so much information that you can't possibly cover it all in a 1-hour session in a room at CRS. Last month, we went through a lot of the music research, and this time we're digging into air personalities. And I don't think there could be a better time to talk about air personalities as we see what's happening in our industry, and not bashing anybody or anything like that, but we do see, a lot of change in our industry when it comes to air personalities, their importance on our listeners, the connection that they have, how many jobs are out there, how voice tracking impacts that, all of the above. And whether you are live, voice tracking, doing any kind of shift, any kind of on-air show at all, this will help you. And I hope that if you're not on the air, that you take this back to your air personalities and share it with them, and you watch it together, go through it, and really look at the impact and what the listeners truly want from their air personalities. Because too many times as air personalities, we also get off on our own tangents. We think we know the listeners better. And this is a case where they are telling us what they want, how they want it, and who they want it from. So with that, we will get started, and I will throw it over to Lee, and let's dive into the data.
Thanks very much, Clay. And a lot of this, all of this, quite honestly, is information that we're digging back into, that which we showed at CRS 2025 in Nashville, plus a little bit more. So just as a quick refresher, we started with a sample of 1,500 country music fans nationwide, 18 to 54, culled, by the way, from an initial pool of over 7,000 people, 18 to 54 nationwide. As it turns out, in this sample of 1,500 people, 79% are country radio listeners, and 2/3 of the 1,500 are in fact country radio P1s. We sought to learn what they know about personalities on country radio. So here's proof of the pudding. A typical day, how much time do you spend with country music in these different ways, streaming, AM, FM, YouTube? Yes, we do our very best to pull apart, is it YouTube, is it YouTube music? But YouTube overall, a lot of people use that as a music appliance, and you can see TikTok, Own Music, and SiriusXM satellite. And here's the proof of the pudding. 66%, 2/3 of this sample are in fact country radio P1s. If you're a country music fan, there's a better than even shot that you're a country radio P1s, which makes this a really, really valuable sample. So I said, let's start from the end, because at the end, toward the end of the presentation in Nashville, we started showing some of these ideas. Out of this sample of country radio listeners, how many say many of the hosts and DJs they had enjoyed hearing on the radio lost their jobs? Are they aware of this sort of thing? As many as 2 in 5, if depending upon the demo you look at. It's not new. Radio changes its host pretty quickly. Right? Even in the before times, we changed personalities frequently. So yeah, there's a perception that we change DJs, and people they really liked lost their gigs. There's the suspicion of AI out there. It's worst if you kind of line up the people who are more aware of AI, men versus women, and then the people who really care about hearing personalities on the radio, which leans older. It's the perception peaks there, kind of 25-44, where around a third are suspicious that some of the voices they're hearing are fake voices created by AI. We also allow them to disagree with this. They enjoy it when they see a country radio station broadcasting live around town. Only 20% or so didn't say, yeah. And those are the 20% who kind of don't care one way or the other. It's nobody's, oh my God, I hate that. The point is that most people like having contact with the radio station, and yet almost 45%, closing in on half, say that they never see anybody broadcasting live around town. Well, if you're trying to prove that you have live hosts, that your hosts aren't AI, what better way to prove it than to show up around town so people see it and have the opportunity to be with your personality, see them live, maybe have a quick conversation with some of them. That's really potent stuff.
Lee, is it time to have a conversation about the 18 to 24s and the difference there?
You're probably right, Carolyn. Go ahead.
Conversation that you say, you take it. No, this is something we've been seeing. And 18 to 24s are falling away from radio. We're seeing it in call out in every format. But all right, fewer of them care about seeing a personality. But that's what drew us in the first place. And maybe if you're out there a little more, we can hold on to them a little longer, because, just like life, it's about relationships. And one of the things radio can do is establish relationships. It's true in sales. You can't just send out a mass mailing anymore and sell stuff. It's true in radio and selling the station. It's about people and relationships, and having a connection is more important than ever.
Can I jump in? I would like to kind of reset everything you're going to see today. Essentially, for me, I like to really strip it down to the basics. And when you think about a radio station or a personality and a listener, you really should think of it more as a friend group. We all have friend groups, and we have different personalities in that friend group. We have the smart friend, person who knows a little bit about everything. We have the funny friend. We have that idiot friend that'll do anything we ask them to do, the empathetic, sympathetic person that you go to when you need that from them, right? You have a friend group. And so as you're looking at all this information, it shouldn't be that surprising. They're suspicious about AI. Well, that's fake friends. Do you have fake friends? Do you like hanging out with your fake friends? Why don't you like hanging out with your fake friends? They miss a talent that's not there anymore. Well, do you miss your friends when they disappear from your friend group? They move away, they become disinterested, they get married and have a life without you, right? You miss them, right? So I think as we see these things, if you see one of your friends out at an event that you both love, what happens in that encounter? Oh, I can't believe you're here. That's awesome that you're here, right? These emotions are basic human emotions. And this intel that you're going to see throughout this presentation is essentially going to have you asking one question if you're a personality on any level. What friend are you, and how good of a friend are you? And I think that sets really the conversation for today.
Okay.
Peter, that was wonderful.
Yeah. And in
Good.
fact,
Can you tell my
Yes.
wife I'm good at something? Because she doesn't believe it.
so when you
Right.
ask them which best describes how you think about the country radio station you listen to most, we find that a little under a fifth say the music is great and the DJs and they're part of my community. Gator, that's a pretty good friend.
It's a good friend.
Yeah.
Well, and
Like
again,
music and the
hearing
DJs are
something, a passion for the music. Sometimes our talent forgets that, right? The song that they're playing, do they like it? Do they not like it? What do they feel about it? How does that evoke emotion in them? Because a lot of times we forget the easiest connection point for air personalities is the music that we play.
We're going to see a bunch of that later too.
Well, and also, I'll say to add to the friend group, most air personalities have to remember they are the biggest stars that most people are ever going to meet. I mean, we are all very fortunate to be in this business and to be rubbing elbows with some of the biggest country music artists in the world, and we don't take that for granted. But in the community, in their community, around their homes, and when they are out at concerts and all of those things, a DJ, an air personality, is the biggest artist they'll ever meet, and we should not take that for granted. And we should treat them all like gold when we meet them. There are a lot of great air personalities that do that perfectly. Every time they meet them, they act like they're meeting a friend, and they know their names. And those fans repeat bits that they've done on the air and stories they've told. And so I think it's just really important to understand the impact of that air personality and what they can have on a fan when they meet them.
great note. So you got another quarter that say they like the music, the DJs are entertaining, it's part of it, and another 15% who say they like the music and a few of the DJs. And so there you're left with 2 and 5 who aren't in this cadre. They say the music's likable, the rest of it's okay, or it's just a music utility for 15%. If you break it out by demographics, yes, of course, it's more prevalent 35-54, where we're talking about a population that I can say who grew up with radio, but I should probably more potently say they didn't grow up with social media. That wasn't part of their friend group. You know, their peer growing up may well have been radio. It was for a lot of us. That was our first exterior friend that wasn't part of our cadre at school. I did not show these data when we were in Nashville because I thought it just echoed the other slide, but I thought, hey, I got room to put an extra slide in here. Now, how do you feel about the jocks or hosts? Yeah, about 60% say that most make the listening more enjoyable, or they're a big part of why they love country radio. And another 16% say a few. So you've got there 2/3 of this sample who have the jocks in their heads. That's pretty potent going in. I mean, that's a huge part of a radio station's programming.
And Lee,
So,
note how many, go back to that, the last slide.
sure.
Note how few think radio would be better without them. I think that's important too, where almost everybody knows that radio is there for company, whether that's conscious or not,
Right.
even the 18 to 24s.
I think that's a big part of our culture, right? We're all, now that we've been isolated through the pandemic, through social, having our own experiences with our own playlists, we seek companionship when we come to radio, right?
Right.
Amen. So, among 1,185 regular country radio listeners in this sample, over 600 gave us names of hosts they enjoy. Now, it's not shocking that the syndicated hosts were mentioned more than local hosts. Bobby Bones, Big D and Bubba, Stormy, Cody Allen, Lon, Kix. These are massive nationwide names, so of course they're going to float up to the top in a nationwide sample. But for what it's worth, some local hosts got multiple mentions and showed up as we asked, can I be honest, Carolyn? We had AI crawl through this and say, just count these and figure out what's important. These
I will tell you, AI is bad at a bunch of things. The
Yes.
follow-up question, it's awful. But if you put in a list and say, summarize this list, it's really good. And it's a lot less time than making hash marks on a piece of paper. So,
Now, listen, there are lots of other names that are recalled that just don't appear frequently enough for me to, the list would go on forever. But some couldn't even come up with the name. You know that. It's your experience listening to the radio. Sometimes we get comfortable with the voice, but no, don't really remember the name. But even when they can't recall the name, they know what connects them with the host. And over 850 respondents responded to the prompt, tell us the things that make the country radio DJs and hosts you enjoy stand out from others. And AI, again, did a great job summarizing those verbatim comments into 5 basic ideas, which we shared at CRS 2025. But for this session, we're also including the raw, unedited text of about 10% of the comments, so we could emphasize some of those ideas. Fair enough?
And I'm just saying, being a spelling crazy person, this is what they typed. We don't edit. If it's misspelled, they misspelled it. And, you know, it's actually much better than when you had an interviewer on the phone trying to remember and hear and type what someone was saying. This is verbatim what people said. So I think it's important to note, no editing at all.
So 5 things that make country DJs great. Number 1, most common theme, humor and entertainment. Easiest thing to mention. Funny, lighthearted, entertaining, jokes, pranks, playful banter. Keep the mood upbeat, engaging, just keep things moving. So let's turn to the verbatim comments. Comedy, news events talked about. Funny and talk about stuff that keeps your attention. He's informational and he's funny. Funny is not a scarce commodity anymore, and the quality of funny has gone way up. So being funny is great as long as you're really good at it. He's funny and has great guests. They're funny and not overbearing. For some audiences, that's just perfect. Play the greatest of songs and always know how to brighten my day with a funny story or LOL joke. I didn't know that was an adjective till now. They're always in a good mood and talk about fun topics. They're funny and keep you up to date. They're funny and have interesting topics. You kind of notice a theme. They're funny and they keep you informed of concerts. That's a natural connection. Make you laugh at some of the things they come up with. Laugh and have fun, talk about current events, talk about the artists. This was a thread too. They joke and pick at each other. You know those shows. Hold nothing back. Cut up in stories they tell. A little family-friendly thread in there.
And we've heard that over the years a lot about country, that people listen to country because they can listen in the car with their kids.
And these days, the music content alone supports that.
Yeah.
They're always cheerful.
I think what this also shows too, Lee, is like there is a desire to escape the negative world that we're existing in. And radio is a means for that. And if you can be that fun, positive, encouraging friend, who doesn't love hanging out with their positive, funny, encouraging friend?
And also remember the time of day that most people are listening to the radio. They're in their car, they're on their way to work, they're on their way home from work. They're either dreading it or they're trying to decompress. Or if they're at work, there, as Gator just said, there's some escapism in there. So, I mean, again, we always program music to times a day. We need to program our content and our air personalities to the exact same thing, and to remember what the mentality is going on and be in the listener's chair, because it's just too many times. It's like the last thing I want to hear is a bunch of downer stuff, and I want to be entertained. I want to keep it light. I want to keep it moving, and really just take me away. Take me away from from where I'm going to do my job or where I just was. I want to forget that for a little while.
And they're putting a point on it, Clay. He's friendly and never has a bad day. Hey, listen,
so we're liars. Okay, good.
Yeah.
No, you're actors.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But those are the two.
Yeah, it's not lying, it's acting. I had a buddy that used to say that.
And my ex-husband went on the air the day we got a divorce, and you never would have known. You know, it's just, you got to do what you got to do. And that's the job, to be friendly and never have a bad day. because they don't care. They care about their own problems. They certainly don't care about yours.
It feels homey. It invites you in. Energy and charisma. Good personality is always positive, in a good mood. They sound like they enjoy their job. That's pretty lucky. Fun and upbeat, humorous and upbeat. Okay. Relatability. Respondents frequently mention that they feel like hosts are friends or people that they can relate to. They're down to earth, genuine, they're authentic.
It goes right back to what you said, Gator. This is a friend group, and they are the leader of the friend group, and they are friends with you personally. And that's, that's, I think, a trait that every great DJ or host has.
They feel like they make it feel like they're playing the songs just for me. It's a one-to-one medium. Some media are consumed with a bunch of people together. This one tends not to be. There's one person. It's you and the listener.
Talk about the podcaster who drives you nuts.
Oh, yeah. There's a podcaster who I really enjoy. It's a great show. And she starts the show with, "Hi, everyone." I don't see them. I'm alone in the car.
Yeah.
Makes me nuts.
Yep.
They connect personally with the audience. I feel like I know the host personally. I feel like I've known them forever. Talking to or listening to a friend. Yeah, you can have a little bit of you in there. There's stories about their lives. And as proof that we didn't touch these.
Yeah.
Anybody who knows me knows that I've been shuddering for days, not adding the G's to this, but this is the way it was typed. Having fun, cracking jokes. Got it.
Not even an apostrophe.
No. Listening to your buddies. It's awesome. Joking around, interact with each other. Sound like people that live nearby. That's the power potentially of local media, of staying within this group of people. Funny and down to earth, talk about things I'm interested in, treat you like a real person. Funny and talk about regular things. This isn't amazing. This is not outsized. It's real. I enjoy how they stay connected to the country lifestyle and bring energy and authenticity to the show. They outright said it, seem genuine. Talk about real life and keep things light, to your point, Clay. They're living in the moment, make me enjoy moments with my family, my partner. Stories about families, how personal it feels. They incorporate their stories when they're interviewing artists. That's pretty cool. That would elevate them and brings the audience along with them. So,
I think this is a good time too, since you are having a conversation with your friend group, you really need to understand who is the target listener that you're having this one-on-one conversation with. I think having the one-on-one conversation was a great call out, Lee, but you need to know, who are you talking to? I know for me personally, I would always profile exactly who I was targeting, and I would get as specific as I could. It would be a 32-year-old female, and her name is this, and she's got 2 kids, and her husband's name is this. And I would go through all of that information for my specific market to know what she drove, where she probably worked at, where she shopped at, what were her favorite artists. I tried to set that image in studio so that people knew who they were having a conversation with. So as you're vetting content, as you're trying to figure out what you're going to talk about in your show and the way you're going to talk about it, you knew exactly who you were talking to, so you could be an even better friend.
great advice. So, they expect country hosts to know a lot about the music. And I'm going to jump right down to the second from the bottom of these points because it kept coming up. AI kept pulling it out. The perception that the jocks pick the music remains. We never tell them who picks the music, so must be the DJs. Now, we know that's not true, but they don't know that. And that means that it's really important that the hosts reflect that idea.
Yeah,
So
and there are some that do. I know that Bobby Bones does that regularly, where he talks about discovering new artists and bringing in artists that he found their music. I know there are plenty of other air personalities, that play a request. I mean, they may be sitting on that request for weeks, but they finally found a time to play it and, to credit it to a listener. There's so many ways to do that, just in simple wording, to be able to attribute that, to make it sound like that, like it's completely planned, but it can sound completely spontaneous if it's done correctly. And there's a little bit of energy put into that kind of setup.
I agree with you 100%. And that's what I try to teach some of my talent as well, is just to, like, let's say you're playing a brand new, Morgan's dropping music every week, right? You grab that and you're like, I don't even know if I'm supposed to play this or not, but I love this song so much, I'm going to play it. Now it was programmed to play, the plan was to play it. You worked with your PD on the playing that, but the delivery of it sounded like you were owning this and you were doing something you might get in trouble for, which is just simply storytelling. Isn't that what we do? Right?
or it's acting.
It's acting.
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 You are
Yeah.
actors, yes.
Yeah. And these comments just support all that. Genuine love for the music, good info on the artist. Makes jokes, talks about the singers getting ready to play. Knowledge of country music, second to none. Plays music I love listening to. That's important. It's music they love listening to. And occasionally I'll hear a jock who's just jaded because you're playing a lot of the same songs over and over, in fact, but listeners love this. The intel that we have, the research we do says that a lot of people really love these. So reflect that instead. Love their background in the music industry. Love it when they give out concert information on the artist who's playing. This is a connection that radio has in its local market. Very knowledgeable, tells you if they have ties to that area. Okay, I'll take that. Give you a history of a song, tells corny jokes. Okay. Engaging with funny stories, great interviews with artists. You can tell they're genuine fans. Authenticity again. Knowledgeable about country music. The artist is, as in this case, he's been a DJ for many years. Number
Let me
four.
just jump in, Lee, before you jump to number 4. Like when
Yeah.
you think, because I have a teenage daughter, I might as well have 2 teenage daughters. My 11-year-old acts like she's 16. But one thing we'll do is if I hear them playing a song, they'll share their playlist with me, right? And that's what we're essentially doing. We should own the music and just think about it is they know what's on their playlist. They're tuning in to find out, what do you love as the air personality, not the radio station, but what do you love? So be sure and own that.
Great advice. Community engagement. Several noted that hosts who engage with community, participate in events, share local news, they stand out for them. Others enjoy it when they give updates on concerts, ticket giveaways, play audience requests. Clay, they still like that. Oftentimes we really don't do it, but they like the idea. So here are the comments. Good trivia. You can tell he's truly part of the community, in touch with the community. Down to earth and funny, active in the community, fun, part of the community. They help the homeless when they get an opportunity. That's the idea that you can become a little more famous by actually helping the community, by actually putting a flag in the ground and saying, I care about this.
All right, I'm gonna stop and talk about Jim Scott.
Please do.
The late Jim Scott was a legend in Cincinnati. He was an incredible human being. He wasn't the best jock in the world. He came to Cincinnati and literally knocked on doors before he started at WSAI and said, will you listen to me on Monday morning? Knocked on doors. After he became a legend in this city. I mean, good old Jim Scott, everybody knew him. He was everywhere. He led the Reds opening day parade for years. But even after this man retired, I saw him at my Kroger with the bell for the Salvation Army at Christmas. This man was embedded in this community for 40 years. And as I said, he wasn't the greatest air personality. He was a great community personality. He was number one. People adored this man as a man. And you know what? Anybody can go knocking on doors or stand on a street corner or just be present. I mean, he is a lesson in great radio. Unlike many others, he was just there. You don't have to be outrageous. He's just a good guy, and it shone through everything that man did.
90% of success is showing up.
Well, and I would just say too that, you know, the strategy and the demand on work hours and that sort of thing, I know is adjusted since Jim's day, but I couldn't agree more. But I think it's coming up with what is that strategy for you? Because the basic principle is caring about what your listeners care about. And in your friend groups, right? If you guys care about the same cause, whether it's politics or faith or music or whatever that connection point is, it makes that relationship stronger. So it is just kind of even being aware of what are you naturally passionate about? What do you care about? What charities events do you show up at? And maybe it's not knocking on a door, but maybe it's flipping the cell phone on yourself and just being honest and real on social media. And you're going to hit a lot of doors just by doing that.
Absolutely. There are new ways to knock on doors.
Yeah, and I think too, I echo that as, you know, look, we have to pick and choose. I mean, the air personalities today aren't just air personalities. They're also the music director. They're also sometimes the promotions director. They're doing production. They've got 4 or 5 jobs. And so I think they do have to be selective. This is not just about doing more, you know, more remotes at the Chevy dealership, and that consider, you know, that makes you out in the community. I mean, as Gator said, you need to pick, you know, what charities are you involved with? What else are you doing? And to not run yourself ragged, but at the same time to really pick your spots, really make an impact. And the age old thing of, you know, tell them you're going to do it, tell them while you're doing it, and then tell them after you did it, and do a recap and all of those pieces, and, you know, make everybody feel good about it, because you really can make a definite impact in being able to just really take advantage of the ones you do.
Yeah. You're not just an air personality. You're essentially an influencer building a brand. If you're not looking at your own career like that, you really should. And I'll tell you, if you don't have a heart as part of that strategy, you're going to die pretty quick.
Yep.
And I've clicked through a few more of these comments as you have been talking. And I'm just going to end this slide with this one other that I just adored.
Who doesn't love donuts? Come on. Donuts make us go nuts, Lee.
Hey, you know, even in 2025, who does? I mean, it's not good. It's probably not good nutrition for you, but who's going to turn down a donut?
I mean, look, things have evolved, because it used to be, you know, free pizza and Coca-Cola at the, you know, at the remote. So, you know, donuts is an upgrade.
Yep.
Interacting, engaging content, you know, jocks who interact, call-ins, you know, games, trivia, contests, involve the audience in the show. We've heard this before in the commentary that you guys have been making as we're going, but it's actually there. They're kind, they care about listeners and the family, good conversation, communication, interacts with the listeners, includes the listeners, fun, keep the audience entertained. Here I go with the verbatim comment, involved with the show with call-ins, no hyphen, okay, fine. Relatable, engaging, passionate, stand out through engaging storytelling, humor, genuine connection, deep knowledge of country music. You kind of
look at these words: interact, include, involved. I mean, these are the words they're using.
Right.
Well, and I would just like to point out engaging content, because I think too often when I listen to radio around the country, we are so focused on what we want the audience to know about us. We're #1 for New Country. We're giving away concert tickets. We're doing this. We're doing that. And I don't know about you, but I have some friends in my friend group that every time we're together, all they do is talk about themselves. And I try to avoid them like the plague. So when you think about engaging content, you need to think what really engages your audience or your conversation or your friend group in a way that lifts them up as well as yourself. And balance, you have to talk about the things that you want them to know about you. You have to tell them about you, but not all the time. And what does that balance look like or feel like for your radio show or your radio station is an important conversation.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Clay.
No, that goes to social media too, because to emphasize that point, we talk to artists about that all the time on the label side, because if they're doing all business, that's, you know, it's just about the new music I'm about to put out. I'm going on tour, buy tickets, go to this, do that, you know, all of those things, but they don't show them enough. There's not enough balance in the business versus the personal life of, you know, show of having fun. Sometimes it's just stupid videos or crazy things or things that happen. Everything's not polished and perfect and all of that. And it's, we see, and look, the artists are air personalities. They are one and the same. They are artists for a different reason and do a different thing. But at the same time, they have to be able to balance the business of what you need them to know, what you want them to take action on, but also keeping them engaged, keeping them entertained, showing them who you really are, being genuine, being real, so that you can get to the business side of it and they'll enjoy it, they'll love it, they know the music is about what their life and all of these kinds of things. It's all interconnected, and it's, we see it in every phase of, I'll call it the entertainment world, whether it's radio, records, or anything else. It's what you just said, Gator, is that, again, that to emphasize that point is you got to give them a balance. If you give them all of one or the other, you're going to lose them fast.
And I think also when you're thinking about promos and how you promote the station as a whole, I remember years ago, we tested promos, and I was in the AC room, and this promo comes on that was hated, by the way. And this promo yells with lots of sound effects and says the words, "All you have to do to win." And I stopped the cassette. This is how long ago it was. With a group of male ACPDs, and I said, "I'm sorry. I'm sitting at my desk. It's 4:55. I just argued with a kid who hit her brother on the phone. I have to get this work done before I go home for my asshole boss. I have to pick up the dry cleaning. I have to figure out what to make for dinner again. I have to deal with the traffic going home. I don't have to do a damn thing for your contest. Stop talking to me that way. Stop talking at people. Be with people. We'd love to see you win. Let's, you know, there are ways to express how the way you enter a contest without yelling at them. All you have to do, stop. And think about the words you use, because she's out there, she's listening, she's got her own problems.
That's good.
I'm off my soapbox.
That'll preach, Carolyn. That'll preach.
But I want to know, why were you yelling at us to get that point across? That's all I.
Because you all sat in those chairs and approved those damn promos.
All right, the recap. All you have to do is what Lee says. Go, Lee.
Hey, I made the point before. The bar on funny is really high. Attention span shorter than ever. Yeah, and this weekend I was listening to a station not in my market, you know, and I'm listening to this bit where the guy's telling me about, you know, Real ID is becoming, you know, demanded at TSA checkpoints, so you got to get your Real ID. And I thought, it's a good break. Good. What's next? Well, next was a recycle, and he talked for three and a half minutes on, with no resources given, no advice to go any place or do anything, or there was a place you could go online or go to their website for more details. And I kept thinking, is it in his head that I would rather be hearing a song right now? Go to the next event. Let's go. Come on. Entertainment's great. Relatability, personality, establish common ground. You know, Gator, this would fall into your friend group, because sometimes getting people into your friend group, it's just a matter of making small talk. It's the little stuff that keeps us together. The great hosts do it automatically, but it's learnable. And, you know, sometimes conversation is, what are you willing to get from me to tell me what you want to know, what you want me to know about you? It's a two-way street. And I think we talked about this very well. I mean, even if you're tired of hearing it as a jock, chances are, if the PD at your station says it should be on, It's beloved by enough listeners that you should find one more thing. And Clay, it was you who said it's acting. Yeah, may not be how you really feel, but hey, it's what you're getting paid to do. Community engagement. Carolyn, thank you for the wonderful recollection of Jim Scott. You know, it should be a non-charged cause. These days, that's getting tougher and tougher. We know from the research we've done, homeless pets, kids facing severe illnesses are hard to beat. But maybe there's something better for your station, for your market. But these things have halo effects that are good for you on the air, good for the station overall. And by the way, great for the sales effort. And right now in 2025, your sellers need all the help they can get. These are tough times for business. Interactive, engaging content, staying with them. I mean, sometimes it's just that you refer to a text that you've seen, or a phone call, or an email, even if it's not the live airing of a phone call, but just to let them know that other people in other parts of town, or maybe in your part of town, oh, they're listening too. Cool. That's a nice thing. Talent, production, promotion should aim to make connections with every listener encounter every time they're in contact. Get something out of it for the air. And I added two more beyond the 5 that dropped out of the commentary. Radio needs to support and nurture on-air talent. Gator, go.
Well, I think back to the friend group, right? You're looking for that support and nurture internally in who you have. How do you find the next wave? I think just being aware who is in your building that might make a great air talent, and then finding a way to give them that opportunity in a day part that may not hurt you, or in a couple hours over the weekend. Or, I mean, back in the day, like I got into a production room and faked it, and I would continuously send the PD, here's an air check of what I would sound like if you would let me on your radio station. So I think it's always being aware, and I think it's also just knowing your market. You might see somebody at a event, at a concert, and go, "Wow, this person would be awesome as a benchmark character on my show. I could build a feature around this person, right? Because he's funny, or because he's local, or because he knows all about the sports team in town." And so I think you can find creative people around you. There's certainly influencers who could use this, a radio show. Are they in your market, right? So I think there's lots of opportunities out there. We just got to be aware and looking for them.
So this may be the $1 million question. Knowing what we know, and we've seen this now in successive research projects about air personalities, their importance. It's a USP. It's a unique selling proposition for radio to continue to be relevant, to build their ratings, to do all of that. Why? And maybe, I don't know if this team can answer, but why do we continue to just slash and burn air personalities, and we're stretching them so thin to where shows aren't as good as they used to be? Some are great at it. Some are great at voice tracking. Some prepare like crazy. They're students of the game, and they are the ones that clearly excel at that. But why do we continue to give this ground away when we know it's such a valuable resource and part of what radio is and what sets it apart?
I'm not sure we should ask PDs that. I think we need to ask owners and financiers and the C-suite about that.
Clay, I was just gonna, sorry, Caroline, I was just gonna say the same thing. That's a question. It is the ultimate question, right? But that's one that goes to the pay grade higher than all of us on this phone call, probably.
I think you're all trying to protect me, but I'm fine with saying this. I'll say this. If you are a really good friend for any market in the country, you'll find a way to be employed with a radio company. Because I'm telling you, we're looking for the very best friends. Who's really good at it? And we want to elevate them and make sure they're on more than just one radio station. So I agree with you. Part of me, incredibly sad. But another part of us is like, There's control what you can control. You can control being the very best you can be, and all else you leave up to God or whoever you deem God.
Gator, can I ask you a question? I know, Lee, you want to move on here, but I think that last slide, to me, the recruitment and finding of new talent is the most important thing, because, you know, that initial slide that you showed, Lee, about 1824s losing interest in radio, from the workforce potential, that makes it hard. It's hard to take someone younger and get them really enthusiastic and think that being on the radio is really sexy, like it was when Clay and Gator and some of us got into radio a long time ago. That was like the ultimate. But somebody else just said something too. I think Clay, like some of these people who want to be young influencers and, you know, push out content, I think they could learn a lot by doing a radio show 4 hours a day, or even if it was tracking. I think they could learn a lot by prepping content and executing content on the regular, and that would help them in their greater aspirational goals of being the world's most incredible influencer. Don't you?
Well, again, I think it comes down to we're all trying to, if you're a personality on any level, on any platform, in any way, you're trying to build a brand. And I'll just shout out Bobby Bones. He basically showed everyone, here's how to do it. And radio is one part of it, but what other areas can you build that brand into? And so if you're in the influencer world and you don't have your own radio show, why aren't you talking to people to see, oh crap, oh, I don't have a radio show. I could build that as part of my overall brand, right? Or if you are an air personality and you don't have your own podcast, why not, right? What are you do? Do you have your own charity arm? What is it that you're missing in your bigger brand? And so, listen, I think there are talent everywhere. There are friends everywhere. Who are the best friends, and how can you initiate them into your brand on some level? And then I would challenge the PDs on this call, Clay. You said it. I mean, there are jobs that we have today that we didn't have 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And it's become the norm. And unfortunately, talent coaching has fallen further and further and further down the priority list. So if you're a programmer on this call and you're not spending quality time with your talent, listening to audio, helping them brainstorm their brands, helping them figure out what kind of friend are they, what's their strengths and weaknesses, what are they good at, what are they not good at, and having and building a close enough relationship where you can call them out the right way, that they're receptive of it, I think you're missing an opportunity to build these better friends. And honestly, if you're a good friend, hopefully you can continue on.
Yeah, look, and I think in a lot of jobs, not just air personalities, but a lot of jobs, we see people who are not students of their game. They do their job and they go home, and that's fine if that's what you want to do. But this is a higher level. I mean, like you said, Gator, to be on the radio, to be in this community, to really be great at what you do, you've got to study, you've got to diversify. What you talked about. Why haven't you created your own podcast? What are you doing online? What are you doing with social media? What are you doing in all of these different areas that these people can find you? I mean, you know, we used to say it's like, you know, it's with an artist. There's 10 ways. The artist is the center, or the air personality is the center, and there's 10 ways into that artist or that air personality. How do they find you? And when they find you, is it really, really good? I mean, I remember the days when, you know, when I was working in Chattanooga US 101, I would drive to Nashville, rent a hotel room, and sit in the hotel room and listen to Nashville radio to see what I could steal, to see what I could do better, to see what they were talking about, what they were doing. This is way before the internet and everything else. So that shows my age. But it's an example of our air personalities listening to the other air personalities that are being successful. You know, are they just going, that's not me. That's, you know, they got a million reasons to not do something. But when's the last time an air personality sat down and listened to another air personality saying, I can actually learn from this and do something better and be better, and, you know, or have a coach? I mean, athletes get better because they have coaches. The best athletes in the world, every sport has a coach. There's a reason that they have a coach, and that's to bring out the best in them. So whoever that is for you, find it, and then just stay connected.
Great advice. Not everybody's a pro athlete. And there's fewer and fewer teams.
Fair point. Okay, I'm going to leave it up with this. The UN World Happiness Report uses 3 questions to measure positive emotions. Did you laugh a lot yesterday? Did you enjoy yourself yesterday? Did you learn or do something interesting yesterday? Radio helps people with all of those things if we'll take the time to make sure that's programmed into the radio stations and that we encourage personalities, our hosts, to lean on those things. And I will end what I wrote for this thing in the corniest ever. Set a goal for your station in smiles per hour. Not how many times you're going to tell them about the important promotion or, or remote coming up or what the client wants you to say. But think about it. Is there any point in the hour that you are intentionally trying to get a listener to go, huh? Doesn't have to be laugh out loud. Doesn't have to be LOL funny, which we learned as a term in this report, but just, did you make a connection? Were you that listener's friend? Thank you, Gator.
Well,
Smiles per hour. There's so many things we could say to smiles per hour, but there's no time.
well, we love our acronym, so it'll be SPH. So just go ahead and make it that. So
and tomorrow I'll get to say yes to all those things because this has been so much fun. You guys made me laugh. Lee, that's RJ.
Yep. Well, but thank you, Lee. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Gator. As always, been a great discussion. I hope the viewers are got a lot out of it. And as we said at the top of the call, some of it you're like, oh yeah, I know that. Oh yeah, I know that. Oh yeah, I know that. Or yeah, I've been doing that forever. But we hope it really just triggers something in you to try something different or to really take a hard look at you if you're on the air or your air personalities. How much time, as Gator said, how much time are you spending with your air personalities? The product that comes out of the speakers is the most important thing. We can get pulled away with spreadsheets and sales meetings and all of those things. But if you're not giving your air personalities the time with you to help them, to coach them, to walk them through things, to show them both good things they've done and areas where they can improve, you need to make that a higher priority. Put it on your calendar, lock it in, don't move it, don't cancel, just make it an immovable object, and just really take advantage of all of that. But this is great stuff, and there's more data. This will all be up on the CRS website, and really looking forward to the next session. So once again, Carolyn, Lee, Gator, thank you. RJ, thanks for the opportunity, and for CRS believing that research and that these kind of things still help and educate our community and our friends.
That's a tribute to the board of directors. We are very steadfast in our belief that we want to bring fresh data to everybody every year. So can't wait to see what we bring in next year. Again, because we're recording this, there's no formal Q&A, but here's everyone's contact information, and everyone has been gracious enough to give us that. So send any of our panelists today any questions that you have. You can follow CRS on our socials. And Clay, thanks for leading this discussion. Gator, as always, thank you for your great perspective. Lee and Carolyn, appreciate you. And we'll see you next time on the next CRS 360.